Right now, we're having another interesting talk show with our amazing guest speaker from Canada. It's with Maria Alejandra Gordado. She is going to deliver a session about leading without permission, building influence, confidence, and a future ready career. She is an international speaker, she is a public policy leader, and also she is a community change maker. So without any further ado, so Maria, hello. How are you today?
Uh, Good evening, everybody. Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. So what time is it there?
It's about 8 a.m. here.
Oh, I see. It's quite early. So good morning.
Yeah. Good morning.
Alright, so let's start with the first question. I'd like to ask you about your experiences because your journey actually includes government, advocacy, research, and youth leadership. Looking back, what experiences shaped the way you understand leadership today?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think, I have a lot of lived experiences in terms of an individual that's gone through a lot of hardship and barriers and obstacles. How I look at leadership specifically, I think when it comes to being a leader, you have to be able to be open-minded and really learn from other individuals, and be able and receptive to learning. So I think that's how my experiences have shaped how I look at leadership. I think it's all about really looking within and seeing how you can use your obstacles or barriers as leverage to different perspectives and different experiences in your life. So I think it goes hand in hand because, like, when you're building a career, getting ready to build your career, I think it really does define the way that you are as a person. But just to remember that leadership is not associated with a title, it's associated with the self first. So if you see yourself as a leader, then you are a leader, right? And it's just a consistent trait, it's a consistent, like, game where you have to just consistently build yourself up in a way.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I think that kind of sums up what I have to say a little bit about that.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really interesting. Like it's a combination between being open-minded and agile, and at the same time, we also need to keep learning. Of course, very important. And yeah, I think that is actually very important, especially in this AI era as well. Let's move on to the next question. So AI actually can now analyze information, generate content, and automate a lot of tasks. From your experience working with communities, governments, and organizations, what human qualities will become even more valuable in this AI era?
Um, yeah, so I think when it comes to, like, this specific AI era, I think that's such a good question. I think now more than ever, AI is can be very useful and time efficient. But I think in terms of human qualities, AI can't replicate, like, human creativity. It cannot speak to the full extent of, like, heart and passion and human experiences in general, I think. So that I believe human experiences, passion, and passions of the heart, or you know, just having that care, of course, are so invaluable. And I think passion, creativity, innovation are human is better, or just formatting things, yes. But I think when it comes to the nitty gritty of like information, detail, innovation, I think only humans can do that. So that's something to keep in mind.
I see. That's an interesting answer. And I think these days, many young people focus on learning AI tools because they want to stay competitive. However, your career has been built around communication, leadership, and relationships. Why do you believe these human skills matter just as much compared to like using more AI tools?
Yeah, I think when it comes to of course like in the job market today, or just like in general, like you mentioned, a lot of young people tend to focus on, using AI and whatnot. And yeah, not to say that AI isn't like a useful tool. But I think that when it comes to communication, leadership, and relationships, that's something that AI can't teach you like at all. I think those are just like integral human social skills. And I know that, of course, we're the generation that's coming out of the pandemic. We're the generation that, is had to accustomize to different or social protocols given the lockdowns and everything that was going on a few years back. And that can impact the social relationships that young people build with, within their community, with their friends, with whatever their interests are. And I think communication is so, so important, because if you can't learn how to communicate, with whether that be in your classroom, whether that be with your peers, whether that be with your family, I think it's going to be hard to build meaningful relationships. And then in turn, it's going to be hard to build a meaningful relationship even with yourself, and in tangent with that, connected to leadership overall. So I think really pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is part of the human skills, that you need to really harness and really focus on. Just because, like, I think that AI will never be able to replace the fact that, okay, you're a great communicator, you know how to build relationships, you know how to bring communities together. AI can never do that. But in order to be able to build those things, you have to really harness what is the best communication style? How is this message being translated to different groups? How can I, come to an understanding with somebody that, I might not agree with 100%, right?
Right.
So I think communication is the foundation of leadership and relationships,
All right.
because the communication that you build with others forms relationships, and then in those relationships it gives you the leadership qualities of how to navigate in different like social settings or social environments, or different communities that you're a part of.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's very interesting. Like, of course, like even if we use AI tools, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to stop our abilities to communicate, because eventually, like the way we communicate to others, try to influence them, will show our abilities to lead others as well. Yeah, it reminds me as well to like some past leaders, like there's quite a lot of leaders in the past who did a lot, like Napoleon and many others, which I believe you know. And let's move to the next question. Like many young people feel pressure because they compare themselves with others who seem more successful. And how can they build confidence and continue growing despite uncertainty? Because in this AI era, some people might think that it's quite the same like during the industrial revolution, everything is uncertain.
Yeah, I get that. That's actually a really good question. I was actually thinking about this like the other day, and just like in retrospect in general. I feel like you're saying, many young people do feel the pressure because they consistently compare themselves.
Right.
And building confidence, again, I would like to say confidence is not something you're born with. Like, it's something that you have to harness. It's like any skill, right? It's like learning to read, right? Building confidence, you have to be able to consistently put yourself out there and try again and be able to articulate better, right? Again, I think this kind of like merges really well with the previous question, where it's like confidence is really based on your relationships and your communication style. If you have strong relationships and strong communication, and therein you'll be able to have those leadership skills and be able to conduct yourself as with a strong leadership focus. But also, I think this also translates into confidence. So I think, in a way to always remind yourselves is how to build confidence is, um, being able to remind yourself that, hey, I have my passions. This is what I'm super passionate about. This is something that I care about. And then these are the skills that only I can relay. Only I have these lived experiences. I have these perspectives. And then you can fill the gaps in filling that perspective, whether that be through education, whether that be through volunteering in your community, whether that be through um, being able to help out a community member, right? I think when it comes to building confidence in times of uncertainty, you have to remind yourself and really anchor yourself in your identity and anchor yourself in your communication style, anchor yourself in your relationships, and then anchor yourself in how you take leadership or initiative. And I think in that, you'll be able to build confidence. And something that I like to say is that there's only one version of you, right? There's only one version of you that can relay that information, go enter into that policy think tank. There's only one version of you that can do what you can do, right? I'm a firm believer that every single person has a unique identity and has a unique calling and mission in their life, and only you can fulfill that. So that's something that you need to remind yourself, and don't compare your somebody's middle to your beginning, because somebody else's experiences are going to be completely different than yours. Whether it doesn't matter if you grew up in the same town, go to the same school, or have even play on the same team if you're like in sports or whatnot. But I think it's good to remind yourself that when it comes to confidence, that there's only one version of you, and only you can complete whatever you're feeling called to do.
Wow, yeah, that was an insightful thought. And since you talk a lot about communication, I think I'm also curious, in your perspective, what makes someone an effective communicator in today's world?
I think to be an effective communicator, you have to be able to really look at the big picture and look at things holistically. I think to be a good communicator, yes, you need to understand the strengths in a situation and a strength in leveraging a relationship or whatnot, or whatever the case may be. But I think when it comes to being an effective communicator, you have to be able to communicate not only the good things, but also the things that are not easy to communicate. So, what I mean by that is you need to be able to give constructive feedback. You need to be able to accept constructive feedback and take it as a learning lesson. So I think to be able to be an effective communicator, you need to, one, be able to be supportive and, to relay good information, but you also have to be able to strengthen your capacity to, one, take back constructive feedback and relay constructive feedback. So if something's not working in a team, for instance, if you're working within a team, you have to be comfortable to be a good communicator. You have to be comfortable with saying, hey, like, you know what? I love this project this initiative that you came up with, but I feel that, hey, like, it's not reaching our target community. It's not reaching the audience that we want. I think being able to one, be direct, be honest, and be able to translate that in an open and safe environment is what makes you an effective communicator.
Okay, I'd like to follow up on that because it's actually very interesting. Because most leaders, I believe, especially when they're in a different generation, and then at the same time, like right now, I think most of the young generation who started work, they are. I mean, I read an article that they are quite sensitive when it comes to receiving feedback. And how how's your perspective as a leader to make sure that your team members don't feel bad about themselves after you give them feedback, and then
Mhm.
yeah, a perspective from the leaders, but at the same time I'm also curious the perspective of the team members as well when they receive feedback, what sort of thing they need to do.
Yeah, so when it comes to understanding feedback and taking back constructive feedback, I think the main focal point that people just have to take in or understand is that feedback is a good thing. Even if it's constructive, even if it's, ways that you can improve. Again, the word improve, right? It's a way that you can reflect not only doing better but being better. And I think that like if you're receiving constructive feedback from somebody on your team, that means that they care. That means that they care about you, they care about the quality of your work, they care that, maybe, hey, maybe you're not living up to your full potential. Hey, maybe, I can see you writing this, let's say you're writing an article that, hey, like I can see you writing a stronger piece, or hey, I can see you I want to hear your voice. I want to hear a little bit more about of your opinion in this, right? So I think that the people who give us constructive feedback, yes, it might seem like a challenge, but most
Right.
often than not, the people that challenge you the most are the ones who care the most, or the ones that want to push you to be the better version, or push you to um capture that version of you that they're looking for, in terms of like most often than not see more of your potential than you do, right?
Right.
Because if everything was dandy and perfect, and if somebody honestly did not care about the quality of your work or in general, or cared about you being on the team, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't say, oh, like you could do better, or hey, like, you know what, maybe this is something that we can improve on for next time. No, like I think somebody who genuinely wants to see you grow and wants to help bring you to help build up yourself in a way, whether it be in the workforce or whatever. I think that, hey, if somebody's giving you that constructive feedback, wow, like you actually care about me as a person, you care about my work, you care about me professionally, you want to build me up and see how I can do better for the future, right? So I think that's what people need to take in, especially being and working on a team where it's like, yes, like, maybe it wasn't the best quality of your work, right? But hey, at least somebody is paying attention, right? Somebody is saying, hey, like, what's going on? And then maybe there is something going on in the background in your life that, you weren't able to focus 100%. But I think that, again, it really just falls on the lines of your communication and your relationships with
Right.
people, right? So to build meaningful relationships with people you work with, getting that feedback should tell you that, hey, wow, like this person genuinely cares not only about our work, but cares about my work. And, if we're a team, this benefits all of our work and our mission. So that's something I think people really need to take into account, that getting feedback is amazing because you can set yourself up to consistently grow, and then set yourself up to build stronger relationships with your teammates.
Oh, wow. That's a wonderful thought. Okay. And next question is, as you know, in this AI era, like information is everywhere, but trust is becoming harder to build. How can young professionals develop credibility and become people like others want to listen?
Yeah. So again, like I know we're like such like in an interesting time. And we're the first generation that's been growing up around technology, right? I think
Exactly.
technology is such a great tool, and this is the first time in history, that we have had these technological advances, right?
Right.
And I think misinformation is something that we all struggle with, being
Right.
the AI or the social media generation. Things can go online and viral
Yeah.
really quickly without
Right.
facts, right?
Right.
So as young people, I would try to implore you all to really, you know the credibility factor in terms of like, is this an actual factual resource? Like, do your research. Is just something that I can actually back up in terms of facts and support and generalized like information. I think when it comes to handling misinformation though, I think you just need to do your due diligence as young informed people to be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to follow up with this resource. I'm going to see where this information came from, and really just try to understand it in that way. I also think just educating yourself or looking at ways to uh, find reputable resources, whether that be through specific channels of media, specific channels of like journalism, or just like your channels of credibility. And always just like check and safe code like online, like whether that be like using specific online tools or prompts. I think like misinformation is something that is part of all of our duty, I think, to tackle and manage. But again, just try to follow up. Don't believe everything that you read online. Try to find the right resource. And you know what? Like, we do live in a world where like we have full access to AI now. So like, you can also pull up resources within AI to be like, can we fact check this? Where did this idea or notion come from? Is it something that's actually reputable? Can you direct me to the link where, this initially came from? And then you can handle misinformation in that way as well.
Oh wow. Yeah, that was right. And yeah, I think it's related to critical thinking as well, which is one of the most important things that individuals need to have, especially during this AI era. And I'd like to ask another question. Like, many people believe leadership begins after receiving a position. Is actually related to leadership. Why do you believe leadership starts much earlier?
Yeah, I think leadership starts really early. I think leadership even begins like in adolescence, like when you're really young. Leadership does not begin with a title. Leadership begins with you, right? I think leadership can start super, super young in anybody's life, because only you can direct the path of your life, right? So I think when it comes to looking at leadership, you need to understand that, okay, hey, if you're like, let's say in high school or middle school or whatever, you have to really take in that, hey, okay, this is something that all of my friends are doing. I feel like as young people, some people might be susceptible a little bit more or less. Everybody's susceptible to a little bit of peer pressure. But I think also just like standing your ground and understanding, hey, these are my values. Um this is what I know is right, or this is what I respect, and this is what I was taught, and this is what my parents taught me. So I think it's really comes down to the point in terms of leadership. It starts with your values. It starts with the types of friendships that you have. It starts with the direction that you want to take in your life. Leadership begins literally from the time that you are able to build relationships, and I think leadership really, really is focused on the kind of relationship that you have with yourself, right? Because I think leadership in general really comes from the place of, hey, I want to build something. Hey, I have a passion for this. I want to grow in this direction. Or, hey, I want to get involved in my community. I want to learn more about food insecurity or environmental sustainability. I think it really comes down to the fact of like taking initiative, actually wanting to know what you want for yourself, and then really being firm in your values and your boundaries. And then four, it actually creates this web of like the types of relationships you're going to have. Well, how can I communicate? It's kind of like a balanced relationship, but I think the leadership aspect starts really early on, like really young, because I think in order to be able to develop your own thoughts, whether it be critical thinking or your own opinions, lead yourself and times lead to sorry, the recording phone threw me off, but it's important to lead yourself in times of uncertainty, because when you're young, um you're susceptible to more information, you're susceptible to your friends, your groups, whatever. But I think when it comes to leadership, you have to learn how to lead yourself and stand behind what your values, opinions, and beliefs are, and then you're able to lead into whatever your heart's desires are.
Wow, that's very interesting, especially the fact that I believe there's a lot of young leaders emerging right now, especially in this AI era. And then I'm actually quite curious, how can young people, let's say like their teens or early 20s, and they want to show their leadership skills, but again, because of the limited authority, resources, and large network, how could these people create a massive impact?
Yeah, so when it comes to, if you're like a young person, whether you're in your teenage years or you're in your, early adult years, in your early 20s, and you don't have a lot of exposure, I think I touched on this a little bit earlier, is that you have to create exposure for yourself. I know it's not fun all the time putting yourself out there, but you have to really be able to go through the growing pains. And what I mean by that is that you have to be okay with pushing yourself and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone
Right.
to go and meet people in your community, right? So whether that be, going online and looking for a youth group or community group or some type of club, even, you know, I would really anchor down or like write down, what your passions are. So if you're a young person that's passionate about, let's say, literacy, like you just love to read, you love reading in groups or whatnot, you can go online and you can find, a good book club, or you can find tutoring clubs, or you can find different programs through institutions or schools or whatever. But even though maybe that's not something that's accessible to you, maybe you can't find that in your local community, you could also just start one. You could start one online. And honestly, it's just as easy as going on to social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, and asking your followers, "Hey, I'm starting a book club. I love reading books about the fantasy and just like interesting things, whatever your interests are." But you can start your own book club and reach out to your local friends or community to be like, "I'm looking for people who have similar interests." And then if those people in your direct community don't have similar interests right away, the people that you're sharing this content with will share it with other people and then share it with other people. But I think it really comes down for looking for the right resources and opportunities and really, really utilizing technology. I think that's going to be like your best bet, is to not just anchor yourself to your local community or anchor yourself to wherever you are in whatever region you are. It's also about leveraging, hey, we live in a technology world. I can start a new Instagram page today about my favorite book series, and I can, dig through the hashtags of of people who like posts from this specific author and just follow people from all over the world who are able to engage in that, right? So I think that when it definitely comes to um building a network, you need to again write down what your passions are, and really focus on like, what do I want to do in the next year with this passion? You know, I need to map it out. What is something that I want to do within the next 3 years? What's
Right.
something I want to accomplish in the next 5 years?
Right.
And then you need to find like-minded people who
Mm.
relate to that, or you're just gonna have to build your own community, right? I think now than ever before, it's so easy to build your own community off Discord, you know, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Instagram. Like, I think it's all about really just looking in the right places.
Wow, that's very interesting, especially for young people. They have a lot of time, which I believe so, and but at the same time they have limited resources. Unfortunately, yeah, that was actually interesting, like a combination between passion and then also like taking advantage of technology, try to use it positively, try to find the right people with the right mindset, and again like trying to map what we would like to do in the next 5 or 10 years and try to go there in that direction. Yeah, I think that is really interesting, and at the same time trying to show to the world our personal branding as well, and that
Yeah.
would, yeah, very interesting. Let's move on to the topic related to AI, ethics, and also social impact. So, as governments and organizations increasingly use AI and data to make decisions, so what responsibilities should leaders consider?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think when it comes to AI, what governments or organizations should really focus on when it comes to how AI is used, I think in general, I think it's good to know who uses AI the most, right? It's kind of understanding what groups of people are relying more on AI rather than others, and why are people using AI in this certain realm? Like, are people using AI to configure, their daily recipe routine, or like their daily skill building, or their daily, calendar, you know? I think it's important to really notion, okay, why certain groups are using AI for certain things, and why that dependency has suddenly altered, and understanding the relationships of that dependency, right? I think trying to understand AI, and AI is really like, it's still in like its baby phases, right? Like, it's like an infant, it's still like a toddler, right? And it's just absorbing information every day that we're telling it, right? And taking stuff off the internet. But I think when it comes to organizations specifically, I think it's important to really focus that like AI is not 100% on information, and AI can't replace um certain qualities that only human delivery can do. Like I mentioned earlier, I think that yes, AI can be useful to structure, format, maybe articulate your ideas in a better way, but it can't come up with the ideas for you. It's only going to come up with generic answers. And I think that um, when it comes to organizations or governments when and leveraging and understanding I think it's important to know who are the direct users, who does it benefit directly, what is it automating, how is it automating, and how is it creating new jobs for the future, right? I think that's a big thing too, where I think the one of the most growing things in terms of like job market or economy is, an AI manager, right? AI needs a manager in how to synthesize information correctly, what is actually accurate, and what is acceptable in terms of conduct, right? So I think that's something to consider in relation to this question. And I think we're gonna find out as we go with AI as well, because it can be unpredictable. But yeah, it's something that we need to think about. It's like we need to have more safety and ethical codes, I think, over AI. And we need people who are managing AI and ensuring that AI is not only delivering the right information, but also being used in a way that's beneficial to the average person.
Wow, that's a very comprehensive answer. Now I'd like to ask you about career development. So many young people actually they are unsure whether they should specialize deeply or develop multiple skills. Especially for some people, they have quite a lot of interests. Maybe one person might like doing or playing sports, and at the same time this person also likes IT like AI or machine learning, and then at the same time this person is also interested in digital marketing. Like, do you think it is better to just specialize in one industry or like develop multiple skills fine?
Yeah. Um, I think when it comes to young people in terms of career development, I think now more than ever, it's so important just to have more than one interest or more than one skill that you have a passion for. I think being able to leverage, hey, yeah, like you are really good at a specific sport and you want to be able to turn that into a way that you can develop revenue or whatever, or develop ways of funding your life or whatever. I think that when it comes to understanding how your passions can actually direct you to how you can build up in different economic means or job opportunities, is so important. I think being able to leverage, hey, like, you know what, I love soccer. FIFA World Cup just finished. You know what, I love soccer, but hey, you know what, um I also like video games, right? So also building and networking and bridging communities. Or hey, if you're a person that can code a video game, or you want to code a video game, or you want to build your an app that, keeps up with all the soccer news that's going on in the world, right? You could leverage AI, right? And be like, how can I connect these two different things that are completely opposing to one another and make it more of a central like a central focus, right? So if you're a huge soccer fan and but you are a coder and love, coding certain things, you can just be like, hey, maybe I can develop an app, a website, or like a blog, or or start a Discord that talks about the ways that you know the trending news in soccer. I'm not a huge soccer person or football person. I know depending where you are, you call it different things, but I think being able to take your two interests and being able to say, hey, you know what, soccer is a sport that people love. And then when it comes to, your skill and whether that be in coding technology, how can I bridge these two together? Right? It's all about finding the right bridge and then leveraging technology to support future is now. And so if you have different passions, try to mix them together and see what you can build out of it, because now's the time. I think now with how everything's going technology wise, AI wise, now is the time to be innovative, because innovation will unfortunately this is the AI boom era, right? I think this era is definitely going to go down in history,
Right.
just like the Industrial Revolution. This is going to be the AI revolution, the innovation revolution. So now's the time to write those ideas and put them and bridge them together and come up with something that's never existed before.
Oh yeah, that's incredible. Okay, and I like to touch on actionable takeaways. Also, if participants want to become more future ready after the summit, what reactions should they take within the next 30 days?
I think the next action they should take in the next 30 days is maybe this is something that I can share with you as well. I did develop like a worksheet, like a workbook to build up through your passions and what you're interested in. I would say is sit down with yourself and really write down, what are my passions? What do I care about? And what do I want to accomplish? Right? Is really focus on those three things, write them down, map them down, and then take 2 minutes every day. If one of your passions is, hey, I want to um, be able to just spread happiness, spread joy in the
Right.
lives of people, right? Let's say that's your passion. Then you can write down, what is something small that I can do 2 minutes every day? Whether that be being online and liking a post on somebody's social media, or writing a nice comment, or being able to even if you're in person, being able to say hi, like have a nice day, or I hope you have a terrific day here and there. I think being able to challenge yourself and give yourself a directive of like dedicating what you're working towards, what your values are, what your passions are. If you're able to work on that for 2 minutes every day for 30 days, you can tackle some of your goals. Whether that you give yourself, hey, I have a 30-day goal that I want to be able to, I'm just ballparking here, but I want to be able to build a community of, like, let's say 20 people in like 30 days, right? You can take small actionable steps every day, like, hey, you're going to reach out to this family friend or this cousin or this friend of a friend, or go on social media and just DM someone that you see has the same passion or is working the same realm as you. I think taking 2 minutes every day to work towards your goal and set a goal maybe within that 30-day period. And then you'll see that you'll be able to look at how you look at goal setting to be completely different.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. And then I'd like to ask you, since you have become a community leader for quite a long time, and like you built a career as an advisor as well. So looking back at your younger self, what is one lesson you wish you had learned earlier about leadership, career, and creating impact?
Oh, that's a good question. I think when it comes to one lesson, I think one lesson that I wish I would have told to my younger self is that you have to be patient. You have to be patient, and like they say, you can't build Rome in a day, and you have to take things day by day. I think that's something I would have liked to know a bit earlier. Especially, I mean, I'm in my later 20s now, but I think when I was in my earlier 20s, I wish I would have been a little bit more patient, not only with my goals, but patient with myself. And really just being able to acknowledge and work through time, right? It's you against you at the end of the day.
Right.
It's yourself against yourself. I think as young people, I think that's something we should try to focus on. But yes, patience is a virtue, and being kind and patient for yourself is something that you should not take lightly.
Oh, yeah, being patient. That's interesting because like great things take time.
Yeah, and I know as young people, in general, we're eager. We want solutions tomorrow. We want it done tomorrow. We want the future of what we want to happen today, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
And it's day by day. And like I said, it's all about intention. It's all about goal setting. It's all about really trying to take action towards your goals. I'm more than happy to share a resource with you after this
Oh.
about building your why and about building your passion and really how to focus that. Maybe people can benefit from that and really sit down and be like, you know what? Maybe I never mapped out what my goals are. Maybe I haven't mapped out what I love, what I'm good at, what the world needs. Maybe I hadn't understood like a SWOT analysis, trying to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and what are the challenges or the turbulence that might come with that, right? So yeah, these are some skills that I'm more than happy, resources that I'm more than happy to share after this, just because I feel like the earlier you learn what these tactics and tools are, the better that you're gonna be like, wow, like I've been able to achieve this, and this goal within this time frame. But then also, I'm also building myself in a way that I never thought of before, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yep, the last question for you, since our summit today, the theme is what makes you irreplaceable in the AI era. After everything you have experienced in your life, what is the one quality every individual should strengthen in order to remain valuable and create meaningful impact to the world?
Innovation and creativity. I think
Oh,
those are the two things that are going to make one, you irreplaceable, and two, create the impact that you want to see in the
right.
world because um, AI is not a creative thing. AI cannot like make, a beautiful piece of art or be able to translate ideas or speak to hearts. Yes, it can help you in terms of like writing things out like conceptualizing things,
Right.
but like it cannot come up with a brand new idea. It can't like come up with an innovative way to tackle issues or tackle certain areas that you want to tackle. So I think in our generation, as the AI revolution generation, please focus on your creativity, focus on ways that make things innovative, that make you innovative, and speak to your creative passions. Really focus on creative thinking, creative outlooks, and creative outlets because those will never be replaced by AI. And especially in the AI revolution that we're in, innovation, new ideas, new concepts, just the new is something that AI cannot replace. So that's something to keep in mind in general is that if you have a creative passion, if you love to creative write, if you love to write poetry, if you love to draw, if you love to even make collages on Pinterest or whatever the case is, you can create those conceptions and bring those conceptions to the forefront of your creativity and be like, what skills can I pull from my creative writing? What can I pull from making digitalized art? What can I pull from this that I can use for my passion or for my mission? And how can that carry me forward? Right. And you can even prompt AI that if you'd like. If you're a creative writer and you write on specific fiction, you can ask AI if I'm a creative writer that does X, Y, and Z. This is the type of things I write about. What are the skills that I can use to transfer into the passions that you wrote out, right? So it's good to leverage AI and see how it can bridge the skills into something else.
Wow. Yeah, creativity and innovation. Because basically, like AI like to just validate our thoughts. Let's say, am I right if I do this? And then it keeps telling, yeah. It keeps agreeing on anything that we thought. So yeah, that's so true. Creativity and innovation, and at the same time trying to figure out what we want to become in the next 5 to 10 years. Try to use technology and in order to create new things. Okay, that's a wonderful answer. Okay, since that was the last question that I have, I would like to invite the participants to ask questions if you have any. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask Maria, you can also raise your hand and unmute your microphone. Anyone would like to ask questions? Maybe while waiting for that, I'm actually quite curious about Canada, because in some countries the government actually tries to ban the use of social media, especially for teenagers, like under 16. Is it the same in Canada as well?
I think there's new legislation that's going through the House of Commons that they're trying to move in that direction to ban social media for those 16 and under. I think it's in process. I think it's going through the House, but I don't think it's gone through yet. Whether or not that happens, I think honestly, I think there's a lot of safeguarding. I understand the intention, and I understand that, being the COVID generation as well, especially those who were really, really young children, who are now getting to their teenage years. I think, again, they're really trying to rebuild the social cohesion that young people have to one another and build like real relationships, But I think that, in my personal opinion, this opinion does not reflect, of course, the Canadian government or anything like that. This is just my personal opinion. But I like to say that I think we're way past that. I think in this generation, trying to block social media, we are the technology social media generation. I don't think it's going to go over very well. And I think it's going to set up young people, or set them back, really, because there should be different ways, in my personal opinion, that you could teach about AI in schools, right? You can teach kids of like, hey, you want to be able to earn income online? Maybe start your own YouTube channel, your own merch line, or sell your art online, You want to build relationships with, there's a lot of great speakers that are part of this summit. There's a lot of great young people here online right now from different places, right? And so this is something to leverage, right? This is something you want, because you want people to stay connected. You want people to build new, meaningful relationships, and you want to expand into getting to know the world that we live in, right? So I personally think that social media for young people should be taught and educated in some way, on how to steer and navigate to build good online relationships or good online communities, but also be made aware of the repercussions and the safety that can go on around social media and technology use. So yeah, I understand the premise is that they want kids to be able to build meaningful in-person relationships with other kids and not be susceptible to misinformation or the dangers of online. But in my personal opinion, I think they should teach how to leverage and build good relationships and how to keep safe online. But that's just my take on that.
So more like using social media in a positive way.
Yeah, I think that being able to have a class, whether that be in high school or whatever, just a class that talks about social media and technology, just being okay, these are the dangers, this is what to look out for, but hey, this is the good that you can do. You could, start a social media campaign. You can build a book club community online. You could build a community for your favorite video game or your favorite book or your favorite just anything and everything, right? So I think that's something that I think needs to be institutionalized a bit more, is the relationship of young people and technology. That's something I think needs to be educated or built into some education plan, to be honest.
That's an interesting thought. Okay, thank you. I think there's no questions from the participants. Since we got no questions, we're moving to the documentation. So I'd like to invite the operator to share the screen of the certificates and let's take a photo together, Maria.
Okay.
Alright, so 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Alright, let's take a photo, another one with the participant. So Elsa, would you please help with that as well? I would like to invite everyone to turn on your camera. So let's take a photo together. Alright. 1, 2, 3. Alright. Thank you so much, Maria. That was really insightful. And I believe all the participants learn a lot from you based on you have incredible experience, especially related to leadership and also like being a change maker, and I believe all the participants here would like to implement what you have shared with us. Okay, so
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much to everybody listening. I know it's probably been a long day online for many of you. So yeah, thank you so much. If you ever want to connect, I'm glad to more than for you guys to share my email, my personal contact, and I'm more than happy to share the resource that I talked about in case you want to share that with the community, so people can leverage their skills, leverage their passions in this future ready world that we're living in.
oh, thank you so much, Maria. Yep, maybe you can share later, or you would like to share your email in the chat box. Maybe that way to connect
Sure,
with
yeah,
you.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
drop it in the chat before I head out because I'm actually working today in an
Oh,
election. So that's why I'm also up this early. But yeah, there is an election going on where I'm at in Canada right now. So happy. It's gonna be a long day, but it's
oh,
protecting democracy and the integrity of it is a passion of mine as well. So yeah, feel free to send me an email if you guys have